how to become the one and only most unique hypnotherapist where no one else will ever be able to repeat what you're doing in your sessions. So to me, it boils down to intuition and asking the questions that no one else would ask. And these could be the uncomfortable questions. These could be the questions that are literally coming to you from your intuition while you're in the session, when you're super present, you tune into your client, and suddenly you wonder something, and then you're thinking, should I ask this question or not? And I'm going to tell you, yes, you should. So I've got a couple of stories about that. So recently I had a few clients, and so one of my clients basically she was talking something around not feeling good enough, and then at the end of a session it came about that, oh, okay, I'm trying to get pregnant and I can't. So logically, my question was like, okay, so is she only gonna feel good enough if she gets pregnant? And it is an uncomfortable question, because you're like, all right, so, I'm not sure, should I ask this or not? But to me, it was the question that I needed to ask at this moment. And when I'd done that, all sorts of things opened up, and she started going into her emotions. She started going into more into herself and finding the resource that she wanted. She did realize that, damn, I've been putting so much on this pregnancy, and I've been literally stopping my life to get pregnant. However, I myself feel so unworthy because I can't. So it's like they get tangled up in that loop, all right? And that presenting problem, by the way, wasn't to do with a pregnancy. Presenting problem was the anxiety. So this was an example of uncomfortable question. And if you're wondering, should I ask this or not, but you're really curious to know the answer, do it. Because so what if you appear to be somewhat, maybe rude or whatever, but in that way you're helping them to discover the resources that otherwise they wouldn't have. And another thing is trusting your intuition during sessions, and trusting that sometimes something comes up into my head and I'm like, all right, I really want to know this, even though it seems somewhat off topic. I will always ask that question, because this is my intuition telling me where I should be going to help my clients the quickest, the fastest, and the best, okay? And this is what will make you unique, because no one else will have these exact insights as you do. And I'm noticing this with my students, right? Sometimes when I'm coaching them during my practice calls and whatever, and they come up with such insightful questions which I didn't think of, because my intuition is telling me something different, and I would go different direction. And it doesn't mean that my direction is wrong or their direction is wrong. It's just that we are different, we are unique, and clients are choosing us for our uniqueness. So, and to finish off, I'll give you an example of an intuitive question, right? So I recently had a session, and I just really had this urge to ask this question. And even though it kind of seemed a little bit maybe off topic, but I thought, you know what, I don't care. I'm just really interested in this, like what the answer is going to be, all right? And we were talking about how she was afraid of making mistakes. So the client was a little bit of a perfectionist. She was afraid of making mistakes. She was really hard on herself, and she kind of And that caused her to be so anxious about a lot of things in life, right? So and then I went, all right. I said, okay, so what happens? What happens when your son makes a mistake? And she straight away went, oh, I'm not actually that hard on my son as I'm hard on me, or as my parents were hard on me. I do understand that the mistakes can be made, and I just kind of guide them to not make any more mistakes. But I'm not very hard on themselves. And then they said, all right, so what's the difference between you and your son? How come you are able to extend that compassion to him and not to you? And that literally, this is such a simple question that followed that one, and that literally opened up all of the floodgates. And sometimes people tell you you're being really hard on yourself, because her husband kept telling her you're being really, really hard on yourself, but she'd just be dismissing it. And these couple of questions clicked straight away, because she really felt this. She really felt it, and she understood how hard she's been on herself. And that was it. That was the resource for her. That was the root. And it wasn't about the parents being hard on her, because they were, and we went there as well. But that didn't unlock the realization or aha moment or resource that other people would think would. But just that perception and realization, that's what done it for her. And this is why I say it's not always about the past. It's not always about the trauma. Sometimes they might even realize there was a trauma. They might even realize there was the past that conditioned them to be like that. But they just need to realize that their perception is wrong, right? So yeah, and that's the end of the story, basically. So your intuition, the questions that you ask, and everything about you is what is gonna make you develop your own style of advanced conversational hypnosis. And if you want to learn that, if you want to learn the method itself, and if you want some mentorship, if you want some guidance how to become a master in it, send me a DM and let's have a chat.